Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for Fantasy Premier League content for the 2022-23 season. My name is Dan and today we have got for you the Gameweek 37 100 Experts video. The video where we'll be looking at the transfer trends, chip usage and captaincy trends among 100 FPL experts to see what we can find out. And today, guys, there are a few surprises. I feel like our experts today are thinking in a completely different way to the average FPL manager. So this video may surprise you a little bit and may hold some real key information to help you take advantage over some of your more casual friends. But if you do enjoy this one, please do drop a like, do subscribe if you're new around here. Without further ado, let's meet our experts. So here are the 100 FPL experts, pundits and content creators, all of these very, very good FPL managers. Otherwise, they wouldn't be featuring in this series. So do make sure you go check them out if you see them around. We're going to see what they are up to. Right, so in general, 47% of them are making one transfer, 25% are making two transfers, 3% are making three transfers, and 2% are making four transfers, with 22% of them not making a transfer at all this week. There is an additional 1% here who is using a free hit. We'll talk about chips in just 1 second, though. But what we can see here is that it's probably a game week to make a transfer, but it's not an essential week to make a transfer. With 22% rolling their transfer this week, I feel like there is a little bit of scope for maybe some of you guys to not make a transfer if you absolutely don't need to. But at the same time, there are a lot of people going quite heavy this game week, going for some differentials, trying to mix things up, chasing rank a little bit, and trying to make some really bold moves, which we're going to explore in just one moment. So in general, I think most people are going to be making a transfer this week, so rolling may be a good idea if you can roll 2 for Game Week 38. That's always going to be really, really useful, but I think it's transfer time. In terms of chips, nobody is using their wild card. I mean, if you still have your wild card, why? Use it already. 2% using the bench boost. It is a double game week, so it is an opportunity to use some of these chips like the bench boost. 2% using the triple captain chip, and I should say, guys, that both of those people are using that triple captain chip on Erling Haaland. So if you are a person who still has their triple captain chip for whatever reason, Erling Haaland seems to be the popular triple captain choice. And I know that doesn't sound very differential, but if you have this triple captain chip still in your back pocket, that itself is the differential, and you could take advantage of this big time. And just one person using a free hit as well. So in general, we know that most of our experts have already used all of their chips, but there are a few trickling through here in the final double game week of the season. 95% of course making no use of any chips whatsoever, probably because they've already used them. Okay, guys, and this is where things get interesting, and I can see some people being a little bit upset by this one, but we're going to go through this particular page anyway. But here are the most popular Game Week 37 transfers in the world. Just wait for this. Just wait for this. So at number 1, we have got Ilkay Gundogan. Almost 300,000 transfers in a time of recording. By the time you guys watch this, we may even be well over 300,000. We may even be approaching 400,000 by deadline. We've got Luke Shaw and Fernandes there, sitting around 160,000 transfers in as well. So the Manchester United player is very, very popular. Callum Wilson there obviously scored a couple of goals. I'm recording this video before the Newcastle versus Brighton game, but obviously Wilson scored 2 penalties so far, so a pretty good start for him. Estupinian in there, double game week. Eze there, obviously had a very good game week 36 as well. So in general, we're seeing a lot of players who had good game week 36s, like Gundogan, Wilson, Estupinian, Eze, and obviously some other players slightly down lower than that as well. So in terms of the correlation between the most popular transfer in the world and our experts, well, there is some. So Luke Shaw, Fernandes, McAllister, Martial, De Gea and Mahrez all are very popular among our experts as well. All of these players, of course, are double game week players, and it's no surprise to see the top FPL managers really looking to target those double game week players and not paying so much attention to single game week players, which kind of makes sense, I guess. But yeah, certainly the Manchester United boys are by far the most popular here. Shaw, Fernandes, Martial, De Gea. All of the Manchester United players who are popular in general are also popular among experts, with the exception of Anthony here. We have got Mahrez and McAllister there as well, going for a little bit of a differential at Man City maybe, and McAllister obviously a pretty decent player to own. He's just been benched against Newcastle in Game Week 37, which does suggest that rest will give him the impetus to hopefully play the remaining 3 games in the season. He's had his rest now, but yeah, this is where things get a little bit fun. So the most significant one here, guys, is that Gundogan is not being transferred in by any of our experts. Not a single one out of 100 FPL experts. I went through all of their moves. No one is bringing in Ilkay Gundogan, which is crazy because he is by far the most popular transfer in the world, and yet none of the top FPL managers seem to be interested in him at all, and I can kind of understand that. He's just played against Real Madrid. We're expecting him to be rotated in this double game week at least a little bit. We don't expect him to play both games, and even if he does, we also know Gundogan has been massively overperforming on his numbers recently, so although his positioning often looks quite good, he has been overperforming. It doesn't look sustainable necessarily, and we're expecting him to be bench rested at some point during this double game week here. Callum Wilson, no one's really interested in bringing him in either. I think the kind of idea here is that if you wanted Wilson, you would have brought him for game week 36. You would have brought him for the double game week, but I don't think he's necessarily a bad transfer. No one going for Eze, no one going for Erdegaard. These two players are obviously single game week players, and our experts aren't really interested in single game week players this game week. And finally, we've got Anthony, again, a player who I don't think is that bad of a transfer in, but I mean, where are you going to fit him in? They're just our better Manchester United options available. So we know roughly what kind of players our experts are bringing in. Let's have a look at who they are selling before nailing down who the most popular players among our experts are. So I've loaded this page up today with loads of suggestions for sales. Maybe I could have cut it down a little bit, but we've gone all of the players being sold by 3 or more of our experts. Isak is the #1 transfer out. 2 games playing on the wing now is a little bit of a concern there. Is Isak going to continue playing out quite wide and maybe be, you know, kind of less involved in the goal scoring at Newcastle United despite a decent fixture against Leicester? Maybe. Not too sure about that one. I don't think he's a must sell, but a few people are looking to sell him. 15 out of 77. I know the overall ownership among experts is significantly higher than that because he was actually the most popular transfer in among experts last game week, but it shows how quickly things change in football and in FPL, and you've got to stay ahead of the curve. But I don't think at 15 out of 77, that's our most popular transfer out. I don't think that's a must sell. I don't think any of these players are must sells necessarily, other than maybe some of the more injured players. So we've got Grealish here. Grealish is obviously in heavy doubt of whether he's going to start either game really in the double game week. We're not expecting 2 starts from him, so it's a pretty easy sell there. Martinelli injured for the rest of the season. Pretty easy sell there. Interestingly, some people are selling Salah. That is not something that our experts are enjoying doing. And they've kind of said to me when I kind of looked at why they're selling Salah, it seems to be very obviously they're only selling Salah to get in 1 or 2 specific other players. It's not something that they want to do. It's just kind of something that maybe you have to do to get in the right players for game week 37. Trippier, maybe a similar situation there, although he has just not been scoring points. And then below that, we've just got loads of other players that people maybe have kicking around their teams at the moment. They're not too confident in, not expecting to score too many points. We've got a few Newcastle players in here, for example, just had their double game week out the way. Maybe now it's time to move them on. We've got the likes of Watkins, disappointing recently. We've got Kepa and Edison, 2 goalkeepers who we're not too hopeful about starting in the double game week. A lot of Chelsea fans do think that Mendy is going to be the new Chelsea goalkeeper, so that's going to mean Kepa is pretty much mudded at this point. And Edison, with the Man City's rotation, we're expecting heavy rotation, particularly in that second game in the double game week, and therefore Edison may be kind of benched to give some of the other goalkeepers a chance to maybe collect their Premier League winning medal, which seems to be coming their way. So, with that said, let's have a look at the transfers in. So the most popular transfer in is Bruno Fernandes, and now you can maybe understand why a few people were selling Salah. Ideally, you wouldn't be looking to sell Salah though, because there are a lot of other midfielders that are heavily sold. We'll talk about some transfer suggestions in just one moment, but Fernandes seems to be the player to buy, and at 31 out of 77, considering around 20-25% of our experts already have Fernandes, we're going to see sort of 50% ownership on Fernandes at absolute minimum before we talk about captaincy as well. So Fernandes is the transfer to bring in. 180 minutes is expected over the double game weeks. Manchester United with a lot to play for and 2 very good fixtures against Bournemouth and Chelsea. We're expecting Manchester United to do the business. We've spoken a lot about Fernandes this week already, of how good his numbers have been recently, how good he looks on the pitch. He is passing the eye test right now, and he's on those penalties as well. Everything is looking very, very well set up for Bruno Fernandes this week, which is why he is the most popular transfer among our experts as well. We have got Alvarez here though in second place. place. And I think this is another one of the surprises of the video. I did not expect to see so many people bringing in Alvarez, but I kind of get it in a way. If we're looking for that kind of high ceiling Manchester City attacker to go for, it's kind of difficult to pick which one to go for. Now, the popular choice among all FPL managers is Gundogan, but our experts are not really interested in Gundogan, so they're looking for alternatives, and Alvarez is the most popular alternative of the lot. We're expecting him to play with the kind of with the rotation from the Champions League. Alvarez obviously didn't start in that game, although he did come on and do quite well, scored a goal. And then obviously we have the second game as well. Maybe we think Erling Haaland has a chance of being benched. If that was to happen, Alvarez is pretty much nailed on for that fixture. So De Bruyne, another player who looked quite tired in the Champions League game. Alvarez is usually the player to come in for De Bruyne. That means that if we're looking for a Manchester City attacker who's going to play both games in the double game week, I think outside of Erling Haaland, Alvarez could be that guy. Genuinely could be that guy. No one is safe in the Pep Guardiola system, but it looks pretty good. Similar situation with Mahrez. He is kind of the Premier League guy at the moment. He used to be the Champions League guy, but not been playing so much in the Champions League kind of this season. But he is pretty much, playing most games in the Premier League, which is very, very good indeed. We've got some other picks here. Luke Shaw, De Gea, two Manchester United defenders. De Gea, the most popular goalkeeper to go for this week. Shaw is just a really, really popular defender to go for this week, considering a lot of people already had Shaw. Another 18 transfers in means that he is going to be approaching 90% ownership this game week, which is quite significant. Maybe almost an essential player to have in your team. We've got Enciso resting game week 37 in the second game, so maybe that's going to mean that he is going to be nailed on for the rest of the season. He's looking very, very good. We've got Sam Greenwood, cheap kind of forward if you need to fund other moves, if you need to fund the Fernandes move, maybe Greenwood is your guy. McAllister, spoke about him earlier, decent transfer in. And a couple of people going for Martial as well, which I'm not personally too keen on, but there's a few people going for that differential there, looking to go for the Manchester United striker rather than some of the other positions perhaps. So with that in mind, guys, let's suggest some transfers. So first of all, Fernandes is almost a must-buy for this game week. He's close. He's close to a must-buy. I feel like he's definitely a player we want to be having a strong look at. Grealish and Martinelli seem to be the most obvious players to sell for Fernandes. Grealish not expected to play 2 games in the double game week, so absolutely back this one. Martinelli injured for the rest of the season. If you can somehow get the money to make the upgrade from a Grealish and Martinelli to a Fernandes, I would absolutely do that, even if it takes making a -4 elsewhere to kind of free up some cash elsewhere. I would do most things to avoid making this third suggested transfer, and that is Salah to Fernandes. Now, this is definitely not an essential transfer at all. If you don't feel comfortable making this Salah to Fernandes move, do not do it. But if you really, really want Fernandes, and this is the only way you can figure out that you can do it, and you feel like maybe you can get Salah back in for game week 38 or spend the rest of the money elsewhere and really improve your team, then maybe it is going to be an option for some of you. But I would be looking to avoid this transfer if at all possible. Grealish, Martinelli to Fernandes look like absolute easy slam dunk transfers to make if you already have the money in the bank. Even if you have to make 2 transfers to do it, I would still do it. In terms of some other players, Isak to Alvarez looks pretty good at the moment. If you've got a Watkins still in your team or a Jota still in your team and you want to remove some of those players for Alvarez, I think that's a pretty good shout as well. Alvarez seems to be the forward to buy for game week 37. Trippier to Luke Shaw looks pretty good. It's a pretty easy transfer for a lot of people to make. Everyone has Trippier, and not so many people are confident about Trippier at the moment, so making that transfer could be a pretty good move. Although if you've got, again, any other defenders in your team that you don't like at the moment, swapping them for Luke Shaw looks pretty good. And we've got Kepa to De Gea here as well. So yeah, that's a pretty interesting one. I think Kepa maybe out of the Chelsea team now. A simple switch to De Gea could be your way into the Manchester United defence, perhaps without having to make any other moves that perhaps you don't want to. Seems pretty reasonable to me as well. And one more thing, a few people have asked me about potentially swapping Dalot to Luke Shaw, so I'll throw that in this video. I kind of like that move. I don't think Dalot's nailed on really, and Luke Shaw just seems to be a nailed on, really obvious defender to go for if you are looking to get a new Manchester United defender. But De Gea is, of course, an option if you need to remove a goalkeeper instead. In terms of captaincy, we are back on another boring week of Erling Haaland. Unfortunately, everyone is captaining him. Well, I say everyone, maybe not everyone, because we are only on 73%. I mean, I say only It's a lot. It's a lot. And if you are betting against Erling Haaland this week, it seems like you are going to be in the minority. And you may land yourself in a bit of trouble if you go bold and against him. But at the same time, I think a lot of people understand that there is potential for Erling Haaland rest. We say that every week, though. Erling Haaland, absolute machine. You know, these are two reasonably good fixtures for Man City. You back Man City against pretty much anyone in world football at the moment. Even Real Madrid, which they just absolutely dominated. So they're probably going to feel pretty confident at this stage. And if Erling Haaland continues to play, he is going to continue to bang in goals. So it is going against Erling Haaland is not for the faint-hearted. 73%. That's significant. Bruno Fernandes is by far the second biggest kind of the biggest differential captain, I guess. Yeah, Bournemouth and Chelsea, decent fixtures. We know that United have decent fixtures here. So, yeah, definitely an option for you guys if you want to go a little bit differential and maybe hope for a little penalty here and there. You know you're going to get 180 minutes from him, which is very good. And 7% on Marcus Rashford, which has kind of changed a lot from earlier on in the week where everyone was kind of worried about Rashford being injured. Those of you who held your transfers will be very, very pleased to know that Rashford is looking fully fit, really. He's been in full training. Everything's looking good. And, you know, we know about Rashford. Even if he's 1% fit, he's going to start for Manchester United and he's going to get a decent amount of minutes too because he is so essential to them. So 7% on the Rashford captaincy. And I don't mind that as a differential too, but I understand with that little yellow Dorito of death next to his name, maybe you guys are a little bit put off by that. But the eagle-eyed among... it's 6% on Rashford, right? Yeah, sorry, 6% on Rashford, not 7%. But the eagle eyes among you may have noticed that there is 4% missing, but that's because there are 4 1%ers, and they are in no particular alphabetical order. Alvarez, De Bruyne, Mahrez, and one person going for Martial, which seems incredibly bizarre. Mahrez and De Bruyne and Alvarez, they're like super rotation risk as well, like any Man City player is, I suppose. I don't see what, if you're going to go for a Man City player, why not just go for Erling Haaland? But I understand that we've got 2 game weeks left. A lot of people will be looking to chase rank, close the gaps on their mini-league rivals, and you may have to do something a little bit crazy, like captaining the likes of Alvarez, De Bruyne, and Martial. But I guess we'll see what happens there. For me personally, it looks like betting against Erling Haaland is going to be seriously dangerous this week. But if you have to do it, Fernandes and Rashford do seem like your second best options. And that's the end of this one, guys. If you did enjoy, please do drop a like. Can we hit 1,500 likes on this video? I think we can. If we can do that, that would be absolutely awesome. We've got my team selection video coming tomorrow as well. I'm going to show you my Game Week 36 scores, as well as show you my 37 moves. So excited to share that with you guys. But aside from that, thank you so much for watching once again, and I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.